Hey guys, not normally up this late, but I have to stay up tonight. So, hello. I don't think there's anybody here at the moment, but we will get to. We'll see how it goes. If nobody comes in, that's cool too. But yeah, just looking to kill some time because I got to stay up. I have a little kitty in the vet, and I gotta wait on the vet call. So we'll see if anybody comes in, and I'll be right back. Talk to you soon. I say I'll be back in about 5 minutes. All right, I'm back. A couple people in chat, or a couple people in. Hello, it's nice to see you. You're welcome to talk if you like. It's just going to be a simple kind of chat about what's going on. Just a couple things, what I was thinking about the news here today. So hello, that's there, to all those that are there. And yeah, this is more for me than anything else, just to keep myself awake. My cat is at the vet, and may not be very good news that I get. So just kind of awaiting that. So yeah, it's good to see you guys. I do kind of want to chat about what I've been seeing over the past little bit. Looks like Pence got the burn today. He went to do his speech, and then he introduced himself, said hello to everybody. It was almost like, I forget where he was, to be honest. He was speaking to the 10th Mountain Division. But he was like, I don't know, let's say it was Lakeland or whatever. He was like, hello, Lakeland! And he got like crickets. The look on his face was priceless. Like, this is a man who thought he was going to be like possibly a president in the future. That'll never happen. Never, ever happen. I don't know what's going to happen with the Republican Party after all of this, to be quite honest with you. They're pretty much, I don't know. It's going to take a miracle to save that party. So, yeah. And also, I don't know if you've been watching the headline news lately, but they can't stop talking about those the riots at the Capitol that happened. Were we going on 13 days ago now? I don't know if you've been following stuff on 4chan and on Donald.win and a bunch of stuff. They were trying to get a bunch of people out and basically do like an armed insurrection or whatever, try to get more martyrs out of it, and it completely failed. They were trying to, I was just watching CNN just then, and they were talking about it, and there was absolutely nobody at any of these places. They were only just showing reruns of what happened like 2 weeks ago. So it was an absolute and utter fail. And I mean, like, you could see it too when you were looking at 4chan, that in other places like that, you know, they were pushing so hard, but it was just so contrived. So ridiculously contrived. And then on top, speaking of 4chan, actually, I don't know if you were on it last night or whatnot, but it actually went down for a couple hours, which is very uncommon. Very, very uncommon to see that. So there's the theory that when it came back up, it wasn't actually 4chan. And I don't know. It was on their IRC that they were talking about that. So maybe be careful. Maybe the anonymity of 4chan has been compromised, if there was any of it left. So if you are posting there, be careful about what you're saying, things like that. You know, make sure you're well protected if you go over there. So be careful about that. And then I think there was also like internet outages all day today in like some of the major cities. I noticed that there was some pretty big outages in New York, Washington, Houston, I think Boston. Parts of Florida were pretty badly hit. So that's something to watch out for. It could be a sign of things to come. And definitely be careful. I'd recommend at this point, you know, they're talking about, I think it was, we're looking at 35K troops in Washington at the moment, and then also the state capitals and stuff too. You're seeing, I saw like a few videos of Sacramento, and they're pretty much locking down that place now with the military. So looks like things might be starting to really heat up down there in old Burger Land. So be really careful. I would highly recommend maybe getting your prepared supplies. I think there's a lot of people here in this type of this group that does that. So be really careful. Just make sure that if anything goes down, you know, you got stuff to cook, you got water, maybe flush your toilet. This is a pretty good one. It's a pretty good one to have. Yeah. None of y'all going to chat today? I didn't know what you guys were like in the nighttime, though. You don't have to chat. I just need to stay up. One thing I want to bring up is it took me a lot to do. I didn't want to release it tonight because it kind of has to see a little bit more eyes. I just finished a video and I'm premiering it in about 8 hours from now. And it's going to be one on Jeff C's cousin. He had contacted me, or at least I strongly believe that it is him. He was able to give me some pretty sufficient evidence that it was him. And he basically explained his side of what he's been seeing. He has his suspicions, and they're made pretty clear in emails that he sent me. So something to look out for tomorrow. Give it a check. And at this point, I'm pretty confident. I think he has passed. So I did give him a tribute to the good things that he's done, despite all his flaws, you know. And we all have flaws. I'm not ragging on that. Yep. I know it's pretty boring here tonight. I get it. It's okay. You don't have to talk. Let me see if I can find the thing, maybe show it to you. I was going to get my computer, my actual like PC, so I can like start sharing things and like we can watch stuff together. But due to the fact that I had to take my kitty to the vet today, I didn't really get a chance to do much. So, and if there's any prayer people out there, please send a prayer for him because it isn't really looking that good. It isn't looking too good. Let me just see if I can get this Pence thing going on. Oh, thanks for the thumbs up. For those that have forgotten to give me a thumbs up or didn't forget, whatever. Sorry, I'm just really tired. Don't mind me. And if you have any links for any news or anything like that, feel free to drop it in the comments, because it seems like there's a little bit of a lull right now, but there has been some pretty big news stuff coming out. I don't know if you saw those Hunter Biden pictures that just came out. Not really something you want to go download, that's for sure. Be careful. Be careful. They could be it could be a bit of a trap for yourself, but yeah, they were looking real sketch and really like young is not even, it's an understatement what he had going on there. And it's pretty disgusting. I think it was GTV or something like that that was talking about it. So I don't know if that's a sign of things to come, but it was, from what I've heard, it's quite disgusting. I don't know if you guys know about that GTV thing. It's like that guy, I don't know, he might be controlled op, I don't know, but Miles Guo, he is anti-CCP, and he posts a lot of, he has his own website, GTV and G News, and there can be some pretty good stuff in there, and it is pretty revealing. Like they basically broke the Hunter Biden, not just the laptop pictures and things like that, but like the scandals with Burisma and Rosemont Seneca and a bunch of those other companies that they use for money laundering to China. And that's pretty crazy in and of itself. But what just dropped today was disgusting, absolutely disgusting. And you know, I'm pretty sure Hunter Biden is just the tip of the iceberg. So it's pretty gross. Pretty gross indeed. Sorry, I'm just trying to find this now with Pence. They've probably like torn it off the internet now. Probably only on like streamable. But it was he got the cold shoulder from these guys, man. It was just, it was hilarious. I think I got it. I think I got it. Just give me 1 sec. Give me 1 sec. It's not going to be the greatest quality. I'm just on like a phone here, but and I promise I'll get my hardware on the go soon. So let's see. Okay, almost there. Got it. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I'm just trying to find the exact point when it comes out. All right, here we go. Oh, hold on. She does not look happy, man.
Hello, Fort Drum. Stefanik, General Brett Funk, all the members of the Armed Forces of the United States who are gathered here, U.S. Army strong. Thanks for the warm welcome. It is great at the backbone of U.S. Army readiness, the home of Mountain Tough.
Oh goodness, he's sweating.
Of the 10th
He's sweating.
Division.
Oh, he got a little bit out of him. He got a little bit out of him. I mean, he's calling out his name. He's starting to
for more than
love bomb him a
years,
little bit.
Country has been the training ground for America's soldiers. Today, the men.
But yeah, you can see him sweating pretty hard there, and he did not get a warm reception. You can tell that he had a little bit of a poker face on him. He pushed through because he's got a good bit of. In my opinion, I think Pence is a strong guy. Whether or not he's a traitor or not is a different story. But he can take that stuff. But she did not have so much of a poker face. Let's put it that way. They realized what was going on there. Like, oh my goodness, they have lost all support. They don't know what to do. They're gonna start running for the hills soon. Yeah, it's pretty crazy stuff. So we have 15 in here. No one's chatting. Is it me? Is it like the chat itself? Is it wrong on my end that it won't work? 16 people, no one talking about it? I can keep this playing if you want to do it, because my ugly mug is not worth it. And I just need to stay up for a little bit. So
give yourselves a round of applause. America is proud of the 10th Mountain.
He's trying to love bomb him back into existence, and it's just.
And while you're at it, would you join me in showing your appreciation? Someone who has been so dedicated these last 4 years to military families and spouses. He's literally traveled the world, encouraging those who stand alongside all the men and women who serve. And as you just heard, she's a Marine Corps mom. My wife of 35 years, but the best second lady the United States has ever had. Would you join me in thanking Karen Pence for all she has done for America these last 4 years?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I gotta stay up all night. I'm waiting on results for my kitty. If I get a phone call, guys, I'm gonna have to take it, so just bear that in mind.
Now, I'm here to deliver a very simple message.
He did save himself pretty well. I mean, he's a pretty good talker. He's pretty slick, and I still enjoy that debate that he had with Kamala Harris. I thought he was quite good. Yeah, Jack 21. I understand it was going to be a pretty slow one or whatnot, and I wouldn't normally do live chats this long, but I figured I'd say hello if there was anybody up. I noticed that there was a few people from like Netherlands and Germany that watched, so I was wondering if I could say hello to them. So hello to those that are over in Europe. So yeah, are you in Canada, man? You in Canada? Is that a Trudeau? Is that Trudeau wearing like a Indian chief's headdress? Is that what that is? That's great. I love it. Cool, man. Anything big that you saw on the news today? I'll basically discuss everything, anything and everything, anything to keep me awake. I'm not really one to stay up at these hours. Yeah, Pence is slick for a baby eating Satanists or Satanists. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He don't get me wrong. I'm not big on his. I'm not really a fan of his anymore. That's for sure. He certainly didn't stick up, but it counts. But he is slick. Oh yeah, he's real slick. He's real slick. He played that very well. You got, I mean, for hate him all you want, and I do for what's going on. From what I see, I don't know. Did you guys see that the release that it was around October of the Clinton and Trump election in 2016? He and Ryan tried to do a ticket and swap out Trump for that, and they tried to do that right under everybody's nose, and it failed because there was too much support for Trump, and all of those emails got released. Now, he wasn't chatting specifically in it. It was more like what would have been their campaign members and a few of the other, I guess, lower congressmen, I think, that was in on these conversations. But those emails dropped, I don't know, that was a couple of weeks ago now. And it was pretty damning. Absolute. And they had the 3 Beijing stripes, the 3 red stripes, the 3 red banners from China. They had that in there, just like the Obama logo and the Biden logo, all that stuff. Even I don't know, like, if you would consider the Hillary logo, because it's like 1 arrow, but basically I don't know if that would be like 3 red stripes or not. But Jack says, yeah, man, it's a real photo. No way. Are you kidding? Are you kidding? That's a real photo. He wore that. I mean, like, at what point is this guy like exactly what he pretends to stand against? Like, why do it's unreal, actually, how he can get away with this kind of stuff. I don't know if you go on Twitter much, but like every single time that he gets in any heat, immediately trending on Canadian Twitter is "I stand with Trudeau," and it's trending with like 800 to 1,200 posts or tweets, whatever you want to call it. It's so obviously fabricated. Like, and then you have like something like "Take Canada Back" that has like 10, 20 times that amount, and then that gets wiped. And then they put up another one that gets the same amount, and then that gets wiped. But then up comes back "I stand with Trudeau" with 800, 1,200 tweets. It's so stupid. Oh, it's so obvious. So freaking obvious. The sock model too. Yeah. And I mean, like, everybody, notice how like Pierre Trudeau is glorified, and there's a lot to criticize with Trudeau. Like the father's, first off, I'm pretty sure he was the one that enabled the act that we no longer get our money. Like, it's no longer, most of our money is no longer created through the Bank of Canada. It used to be that we could create our own money if we went into debt or whatnot, or we needed to spend a deficit to pay for certain things. We could borrow the money from the Bank of Canada. But he created the law where I think now it's up to like 98% of money in Canada is created by private banks. So basically, when you go, say you want to borrow money to get a car or a home or things like that, they will actually create that money by, like, when they write you that check for that money, right? They're creating, most of that gets created out of thin air. And while on the books, they say that they need $1 for every 7 that they loan, because of how it compounds, it ends up being more like $1 that they have, they lend out 25. Yeah, it's a lot like the fractional reserve. Yeah, just like in US, except in the US, it's more centralized. Um, so it would go through the Federal Reserve, like you're talking about. But here, it's done through the private banks. So everything that Canadian government or the Canadian government creates, they end up having to pay interest on this. Now, I don't know what the actual number is per day now that we have to pay, but last time I checked, which was admittedly around 10 years ago, I think it was somewhere around $82 million a day we pay in interest for this money that we loan from the banks. And we could have just been borrowing this from the Bank of Canada. Now, listen, there are also upsides with this, right? Once you, with an economic system like this, you're able to expand a little bit faster. But the problem is, like, I'm not saying that it's all downside and that it's just totally created. Like, there's no reason to do it other than making bankers rich. I'm not saying that it's 100% that way, but I think it's a terrible system because at the end of the day, the taxpayer has to pay, and that number compounds, right? So like it was 82 million last time I checked, which was a long time ago. Yeah, it was way back in the day. And I mean, nobody could even imagine how much money we would have been paying now, so I guess back then. So yeah, it was one of many very, very bad ideas. And I would say that number is probably closer to 150 now when you account for Canadian inflation, which is going through the roof. It's not quite as bad as everybody's saying. Like when you look at the food store, like on 4chan for Canada, I don't know if you've seen those threads, but they're looking like $50 for like a slab of chicken or something. It's not that bad, but it could, I'm not saying that it can't happen. So yeah, thanks for chatting, guys. Keep me awake. I appreciate it. Yeah, Pierre is. It really sickens me because like CBC tries so hard to glorify this. I don't like saying the word, but like the patriarchy of the Trudeaus. Like I'm not saying like the whole feminist patriarchy is true or anything like that. But if it was true, I mean, these guys would be a shining example of it. It's pretty gross. Pretty gross. Did you ever watch Curb Your Enthusiasm? That old little hat. He's a funny guy, man. He's a bit of a creep, but Larry David, I do get a chuckle out of. I get a chuckle out of Curb. Yeah, food security is going to be a big. Yeah, it is going to be a big deal. And it's kind of sad because Canada does have quite a big bread basket. I mean, Ontario is quite fertile from the lakes, and you have Quebec, which is off the river, the Saint Laurent, and I haven't even gotten into like Alberta. I mean, have you ever seen like a satellite picture of Alberta and stuff like that? It's just like there's Edmonton, which is like the perfect grid city, and then like you zoom out and it's just farm, just one massive like half a country of farm. It's so intense. We have a lot of food here, but it's starting to get bought up, and not just the food itself, but the potash in I think it's Saskatchewan. Is it Saskatchewan that has potash? That's for agriculture. It creates more fertile crops, or I guess like more fertile crop growth. And China really is getting their stakes into that. And I mean, China's basically in everything in Canada now. But yeah, they're really targeting that specifically, are the crops that we have. Yeah. Also, too, I can give you like the lowdown too, because I actually worked for a company that was like under, like, I didn't know it at the time, obviously, and I mean, I'm not with them anymore, but they were clearly like CCC bots in the way that they would come here, they start a business, they act like us, but they're really here to like infiltrate or subvert the culture that's here, right? So you go and like, they're really nice to you, but then they start like backsmacking your culture. Hold on, I think this is actually the vet. So just give me one moment. My cat is in trouble, so. Hey. So yeah, it's not looking all that good, I guess. He's got a really his abdomen's really bloated, and I thought it was like some sort of kitty constipation, or maybe he couldn't pee or something like that. But and that was the vet that I thought on Thursday was saying, but by Sunday or by this morning I started realizing something was up. So I took him to the animal hospital or whatever, and they think he has FIP, which is really bad. Like he ain't gonna come out of it. And he's a young cat too. He's this little tiny thing, and he just, oh my gosh, it's crazy how like these little tiny cats just like clutch onto your heart. And he's always been like this little sook too. Like I got him. He was the only surviving cat out of this feral litter that the mom abandoned. And little tiny black thing. I got him at like 8 weeks old, and he could like, I'm not even kidding you. Like this thing could fit like on the palm of my hand. I would just hold him here, and he'd look at me like that. Oh my gosh, I gotta wake up. I'm sorry. My bad. Yeah, he was so small when I had him, and like he's one of those like, I've never seen a lap. It's not even like just a lap cat either. Like this is a cat that likes, if he could be comfortable sitting on your face, so he could get like the hot air on him, like he would do it. So, but he doesn't really feel like comfortable doing it, so he just like goes on my shoulder or something like that. But I mean, to be honest, like there was something wrong. I thought there was something wrong when he was a little kitten too, and they didn't really find anything. But I don't know. Moms usually abandon their cats for a reason. They don't do it for no good reason. So I say I was pretty lucky to get 3 years out of him, but it's not over yet. So he doesn't have FIV, and he doesn't have a lot of the other things they were worried about. But the FIP is still on the table, even though it really doesn't make sense because he's not around other cats that much. Maybe one contact could have done it, but highly unlikely. But it's so complex, apparently, that they might have to send the test down to the American lab. That could take longer. So pray for my kitty. Oh my gosh. It's like, it's so freaking costly too. Like, and that's, I guess, you're trying to figure out what's the most efficient way for this. And like, I'd basically sell everything I own for this guy too, but I guess it like adds to it all. Cause like, I thought I just went in like, he was just like, he needed some meds and he's okay. He's all good to go. But yeah. Anyways, you didn't really come here to say that. Sorry about that, guys. Let's see what's going on. Hey, thanks for the well wishes, Jack. I appreciate that, man. I do. Let's see if you guys got anything like interesting you're talking about. Kombucha. That is pretty good. It's getting popular where I am. And because there's like a lot of hippie shops and stuff. So I did give it a try. It's a little bit, I don't know. It's not my thing. It's not really my thing. But, it is popular. So people do like it. I'm not ragging on it or something. Yeah, so, oh, hey, Doc Connector. I don't know if this is the first time I've seen you in here, but welcome. Oh, cats, man. It's like the one thing that like everybody's like, well, almost everybody agrees on now. It's like the only thing left that we have is like humanity. It's like cats are wrapped around our fingers. Doesn't matter if you're like 3-year-old girl. Doesn't matter if you're a 200-pound male. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if you're a lefty, right winger, black pillar, white pillar. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Everybody freaking loves cats, and it's like the only thing we still agree on. It's good to have you. I'm not normally crying on camera, and I'm not usually up this late. So usually I have a video coming out in like 7 o'clock Eastern, 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. Usually is what I usually try and aim for. And we usually do a good chat. What I try and do is like a format. I tried to do it today, but like there's 14 people in now, but there's nobody talking before. There's like 3 people in when I went through the stuff that I wanted to chat about. And I didn't really prepare all that much because I was like doing that video about Jeff's cousin, and I wanted to give a little bit of a, pay my respects to him or whatever. So I've been, and my cat as well, that I was dealing with today. So I didn't really have much time to prepare. But what I like doing is preparing a little bit, and I do like 30 minutes to about 45 minutes of content, and then I like having chats. I like actually chatting with the people in there, so or with you guys. So yeah, if you like that kind of stuff, it's good to have you, man. It's good to have you. If you like, subscribe, hit the bell, whatever. I don't like promoting myself. I'm not really here for that. I don't expect to ever really grow all that much. But it's fun to, I guess, be in this corner of YouTube again. I do feel strangely connected to you guys. Yeah. Mango. I've never really been into mango because I'm from a place that's like sub-tundra. So we don't really have the best mangoes. It's just like by the time they get here, they're either rotten or like the bad ones, the ones with no taste. So I don't know if I've had many mangoes that are actually worthwhile, but I've heard like if you have a fresh mango, that's like the greatest taste in the world. So I'm not totally knocking it. It's just one of those things that it doesn't taste very good if you don't get it fresh. Like where I'm from, we're known for codfish, and codfish, if it's frozen, it sucks. And I'm from what we call town, and we don't really do much cod fishing here. Like it's more the smaller outports. So they get all the fresh fish, and we usually get the frozen stuff. And I grew up my whole life being like, man, Newfoundland sucks. Like, why would they enjoy cod? Like, why would you ever do that? And then I worked at like a fish and chips restaurant, and I had my first, St. John's, yeah. And basically, I'm slobbering here and everything. Just a second, I'll be right back. Sorry, guys, but yeah, I had my first fresh cod, and I was like, oh, okay, grandfather Pat. I know what you came here for now. This is the shizzle. Yeah, it's really good. Like when you freeze cod, it gets all like this flaky chew. Like you gotta chew on it. It's almost like fiber. It's too fibery, right? You're almost better having like haddock or something from dang old Nova Scotia like that. I'm just kidding, Jack. But yeah. But when it's like when it's fresh, it's got like the flake itself, like each little morsel piece or whatever. Well, I don't know what you call it, but you know how like it comes in like layers, almost like an onion. Like that is it. Just one slides off the other, and it's just so good. It's the best with the tartar sauce too, man. I put like a whole bottle on that thing. It's great. It's great. What part of Nova Scotia? Like you don't have to say the town, but I do have. I got some family in Dartmouth, and I remember going. I was on my way to like Quebec one time, and we went to Truro for just like a little stop or something like that. And I think there's a little theme park in there. I don't know. It was like 20 years ago now, so I don't know if it's even still there. But I was on this water slide that was there, and I guess like it was a windy day and you know, sunny day, so they had an umbrella up at the top of the slide. And I go down the slide, right? And I'm still 10 years old, so I'm still like looking for my dad after I get out of the slide. I'm like, Dad, did you see me slide, man? Look at me. And I see him running, right? And I was like, Dad, I'm right here. and here he's like freaking out running because apparently like the kid behind me, a piece of the wind took the umbrella right, like which had like, you know, kind of a pole about, you know, that big, right? And it came right up and it apparently went right into this kid's head, the kid right after me, right? And it was some crazy stuff. Like I saw him have to go down. Like I saw like the umbrella there, and they were worried they couldn't take it out, obviously. And you saw them all rush. It was crazy. It's like, oh my goodness, very, very scary. Halibut is good too, but it is also another fish that you can't have frozen. You can't have it frozen. I honestly, I think it has a cardboard taste to it if you just freeze it. But haddock, everybody gives, like, we call it poor man's cod here, which is funny because Newfoundland is like piss poor broke, and it always has been. But we call it poor man's cod. And but personally, like the frozen versions, haddock's way better. It's got a sweeter taste to it. Goes better with like a flour base fry and the tartar sauce. I really, until I had fresh cod, I thought it was way better. Oof. Okay. I tell you what, because that was a hard call. If you guys don't mind, I'm just gonna take a moment and maybe just stretch my legs and take a breather. Maybe go outside and just get a little bit of fresh air. I'll just be like 5 minutes, and we can actually get in if you guys wanted to chat a little bit more, because I thought we had a pretty good discussion going on, and I'd like to maybe jump in yours. So just give me a moment, and if you like what's going on, just hit that like button just so we can snowball a little bit. And maybe we can have a little bit more. I just the Pence. He's like, "Hello, guys!" Ah! Crickets. All right, guys. I'll be right back. this loud humming noise up there right now. Sounds like it's coming from the airport. And it's constant, it doesn't stop. Okay. Oh, I gotta close the door. Be right back. So I got something to report. I was just outside, like taking a breather, and there's this weird humming noise coming. This is close to the airport in St. John's, and there, at least from that direction, is a weird, constant, and what is probably quite loud from the source, humming, and it doesn't stop. It's like it's at this pitch, and it just keeps going and going and going. It's very much like that. Very, very weird, but it sounds like wherever it's coming from, it's quite loud. So get your theories out, guys, because I have never heard that before, and I've lived by airports basically all my life. Let's say hi to everybody in chat. Oh, hi, Cheat Girl. Go to bed. Go to bed if you don't need to be awake. Yeah, let's see. I'll try to open. Maybe you can hear it. I don't think you will be from this direction, but you can kind of hear it, but not really. Yeah, castles are dope. Castles are dope. And Romania. I play a lot of Europa Universalis, and one of my favorite countries to play is Wallachia. It's kind of fun to take on the Ottoman Empire as Wallachia. Go all well, I don't know if Dracula was actually Romanian. Maybe he was Moldavian, but the same kind of region. Whatever. I'll go Vlad on their butts. It's fun to do that. And yeah, the castles are so cool. The castles are really cool, especially in that area too, because it's not quite the Switzerland castles and stuff are nice too. Vlad the Impaler, yeah. He certainly put the kibosh on the Ottoman advance. Yeah, but that must have been a pretty scary time, man, because it wasn't just like, well, I mean, they were just coming away from the horde threat. I think it's still at that point. Crimea and stuff like that was still horde, and the HRE basically formed to kind of stop that threat. And then you had the Ottomans to the south. Man, it had been pretty scary being in the Balkans at that time. You were kind of getting hit from all angles. And then you had Europe itself. You know, they wanted a piece of you as well. You had Austria that wanted a piece of Hungary, and that was right on Romania's doorstep. So, yeah, an interesting time. It's an area that's often overlooked, but it's rich with history. From the more I look at it, Switzerland's cool. I got a couple friends from Switzerland, actually. Their French accents are really nice. I really like their. It's very boop, 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 boop. I don't know. My favorite accent though in French is like Belgian. Belgians got it. They're down to earth. They're really cool. Yeah, it's really nice on girls, actually. There was one time because I worked at a hostel in Quebec City, so they would get French people from all over the world, and they wanted to see like the France in North America, right? I remember there was this university class of girls, and I was serving breakfast, and my French was really bad at the time. They could only speak French, and I didn't know where they were from, and I asked them where they were from, and they told me Belgium. I was like, oh, okay. I've never heard it. It's quite foreign to me or whatever. But the word is étrange, and that means like it basically if you take out the e and put it in an s, like most French words, if it's an e with an accent on top in the beginning, you can swap it out for an S, and it's usually the word in English. And strange, and they took that kind of bad. And I was like, no. I was like, c'était comme les oiseaux pendant le matin, which means it's like birds singing in the morning, and they all melted. I was too busy at the time to make any moves or anything like that, but I could have got a little lucky. That you know what I mean? Is not something I would like to brag about today. I'm not, that's not cool. But back in the hostel days, that was really fun too. When you like in hostel or travelers hostels, you can meet some really interesting characters, and you start seeing like general things form. Like I don't know. For example, like when the Chinese they come to be tourists or whatever, they'll chat with you. Don't get me wrong. Like they'll have a little bit of a chat, but for the most part, they want to stick with their own. They want to take pictures on their own and do their own thing, right? And the Japanese are a little bit curious of you, and they want to have chats, a little bit more so. But at the end of the day, they don't. They don't. They still want to do their own thing. Like they are their own culture, and Koreans though. I did just the 2-word phrase. Koreans corrupt. They want to try the North American thing in general. Of course, people are people, and it's not everyone, right? But they definitely want to try the North American thing when they come over here. And it's funny, they come over here and they just talk smack about their own Koreans all day. There's too many Koreans there. I gotta get out of there. Yeah, it's an interesting group. I'm just gonna go through the chat, see if there was anything interesting to mention. I might buffer a little bit. I'm on a really bad computer for those that are new. So just bear with me, and I'm gonna be on better hardware soon. Absolute Koreans corrupt, absolutely. U.S.-Canada border on Buffalo. Oh, that's cool, man. I lived in Ottawa at one point, like in Nepean. So it's about 50 kilometers away from the Ogdensburg border. I think Ogdensburg is what's on the other side. But probably more like Palmyra and Manchester, that area. It's probably closer. But it's a gorgeous area too. I really miss that. Like the huge trees, and Ottawa's really prim and proper too, because it's like what do you call it? It's the capital, so like where all the taxes go. If like there's ever a pothole in the road, like they do the next like 5 miles of road, pave it over, just to make sure, so that all the politicians can get to work. You left New York for Europe, never came back. Yeah, I mean, I used to go to New York City when I was a kid, and probably wouldn't do it anymore. But that was a really cool experience. I really like New York. I love flying over. I don't know if they call it the Catskills specifically, but that was really cool to look at. Whatever that mountain range is, it was a gorgeous view. Just the ice caps in the summer. Really, really cool. Really cool. But if you're in Switzerland, did you pick up any of the languages there? And if so, which one? Because I think there's like 4 of them, isn't there? There's like French, Italian, German, and whatever they call that remote language. And we looked into the Sinclair family. Speaking of castles, Rosslyn Chapel in Scotland is a very interesting location. So Newfoundland, Scotland's basically the only United Kingdom area that didn't come to Newfoundland. They were smart enough to get away from our crappy weather, and they went to Nova Scotia, where there's them Haples down in Nova Scotia. So they were smart that they didn't come here. So I got to be honest, my Scottish history is quite small for someone who enjoys history, or my understanding of it, I mean. The Satanists love keeping their parliament buildings in top condition. Yeah. Now the Scottish basically built most of the parliament in Ottawa, and that library is gorgeous. I mean, Masonic or not, like I do like giving credit where credit's due. I even enjoy like looking at cathedrals just for its architectural value or whatnot, knowing, of course, you know, it's not necessarily inspired by God by any means, but they're interesting to look at. But yeah, actually, I took. I don't know if you can like find them now on my like, Google or whatever, but I took a good few hundred pictures of like the occult stuff that's in Ottawa. I had to go back through some of that stuff and see if I can pull some of that stuff out. Another thing too that I had before Antifa was like, you know, really famous. I remember one time there was like this meeting or a rally, and I thought it was just like, you know, an activist rally. And I wasn't right winger at that time. I was more like, you know, in the middle, but more libertarian. And so technically it's called activism would have been my thing at the time. And so I was interested to see what it was, but I went there and I realized that this was not partisan or bipartisan. This was a bunch of commies, basically. So I went there like maybe I would have participated in the rally, but then I ended up just being like a camera guy, just like taking photos or taking video of like how crazy they looked. It was like obvious. And there was one time like I remember like pulling off for a smoke or whatever when they were meeting. Like they were on the road and like two of them were meeting each other. You know, this stupid rally stuff that these commies do. Like they love meeting each other on the road to talk about how awesome they are. And so I thought it was break time to go for a smoke. And like one of them peels off and she was like, "Just tell me, are you a cop?" And I was like, "If I was, would I have to tell you?" just to like screw with them. She didn't like that. She didn't like threaten me or anything like that because they weren't so bold at the time. But yeah, they were paranoid back then, and they're even worse now. Just visit Switzerland and speak a little German and Swedish. Swedish. I suppose that doesn't get you too far in Switzerland, but the German certainly would. Certainly would. Is Zurich? Would that be like the Zurich area that you went to? Because most of my friends were like from the French part of Switzerland. And there was a couple that I had. I heard that the Platt German is very different compared to German. Like Austrian kind of more or less speak closer to German, but the Swiss is almost, you can almost not understand. It's a little bit more basic, so yeah, you can, but from what I've heard, but it's a lot of these people don't quite understand when they go to Switzerland from Germany. The Bauer connection, but if you read up on the Sinclairs, they're extremely powerful Masonic family. Yeah, well, there's that connection too. I talked about this on an earlier cast this week because I know a bit about the Grand Orients or Grand Orient which was basically what became the Scottish Rite. And yeah, like Athanasius Kircher was a Jesuit. He went down to I guess the old Babylon area and down to Egypt. They contribute Egyptology to him, like he was the first Egyptologist or something. And he took all this Illuminati stuff, whatever you want to call it, and he brought this back to Clermont, France. And in Clermont, that's when they came out with the Grand Orient Masonry. And then that went into the Scottish Rite, if I'm not mistaken. So I don't know if there's a connection there. Maybe we could figure that one out, because I would like to get a little bit more into the Scottish Rite. It's pretty important. Trudeau's mother is one of them. It doesn't surprise me. Sure, you're talking about Margaret. She's something. She's something. Well, I forget what Norm Macdonald said to make fun of him. You don't, by the way, anybody, you know what I'm talking about? Press 1 if you know who Norm Macdonald is. He's like that really funny in a way, but super dry comedian from Canada. I think he's one of the funniest guys ever. I gotta look up some. I'll show it to you now. One sec. He was at like some stupid YouTube awards. One second. YouTube. Eddie blows away, what's her name? Sarah Silverman, when she tried to shill out the Jash company, JASH. Okay, yeah. Okay, so a couple people know who Norm Macdonald is. There's like one of his jokes is like he's saying, "Oh yeah, you know, Justin Trudeau. I thought he was a pretty nice guy. Maybe he was a smart guy. I mean, his father was Pierre Trudeau, right? It's like he can't be that bad." And, but then I realized he has a mother. And he just stops it there and lets you kind of complete the joke for yourself, which was one of the best parts about Norm Macdonald. I shilled him like last time I was on. But the best part about Norm Macdonald is like often he lets you finish the jokes in your head, and that's what makes it the best. He's like, I don't know if you know about Germany, but they went to war with the world once. And you thought it would, they would get run over pretty quick, but no, they almost won. It's so great. Well, I gotta get you. I gotta get you this. Just give me one moment. I gotta show you the point where I'm talking about, because he's basically, it's like the YouTube Awards, and it's a bunch of, at this point, nobodies. This was 2014, and there's not a single person that I can recognize right now, except for Norm Macdonald and Sarah Silverman. And he's basically making fun of that. He's reading out these names, pretending that they're all stars, but he's giving them backhanded, like, and he shows up. Hold on, I'll show you.
Morenstein is here. All right, and we also have comedian Tom Glass. He'll be hanging out backstage with some of tonight's guests. And on the red carpet, we've got comedian Kulak.
It's hard to see, I know, but you can see him in like a sweater, sweatpants. He just doesn't give a dang.
I'm sorry, I'm going to continue with the what the computer says, Norm, although I'd love to talk to you
more his ability.
than this computer. But I have to do what the computer says, even though I do love you, Norm. I do.
I will find out one part that I got to show you, but another good quality that he has, he can really mask his IQ, so I don't know if you noticed, but he's not a dumb man. Okay. And his brother actually is Neil Macdonald, who's a CBC contributor. I think it's for American politics. And he's a total liberal shill. like he shills out the CBC, propaganda stuff. And so it's just funny that this guy, like, because Neil Macdonald, he's a pompous intellectual, like liberal intellectual, and it's hard to really read his stuff, even though I want to like him because he's Norm's brother, right? But you just can't. He's terrible, and Norm is the total opposite. He can mask his IQ as opposed to his brother Neil, and like people who aren't that intelligent, they don't get it. And like Norm can be making fun of them and they don't understand. They just think it's like, who's this idiot? Like, why is he just rambling? He's like, no, he's actually wrecking you. You don't even understand.
Picture.
So let me see if I can find it. Yeah, he's a bit of he swears a bit. So if you're a Christian, be careful. But
Sorcerer on the show. That's right. That is true. The type of men that feel that they're suited to make love to me and sorcerer on the show. I'm just in shock because my hand.
I'm almost there. Give me a moment. I'm almost there.
Josh is.
Here we go.
Daniel,
okay, so obviously what was going on was Jash is like this lefty comedy group or film group or whatnot. So if you ever look into them, it's a bunch of celebrities that pretend that this is like some grassroots thing, and they do comedy, a bunch of other things, but it's basically just commie propaganda. And Neil calls it out, or Norm calls it out big time when they're trying to get Norm to help shill it out, right? So he was like asked, I guess, to mention Jash so that to segue into it, right? And instead of like complying in typical Norm fashion, he has to derail the whole thing. So yeah, I think this is it. I'll try and keep it as steady as possible, and I promise next time I'll have better hardware.
person who put this whole thing together. together,
Yeah.
way over his head.
He says you
He
can.
did it.
He says you can explain what the fuck Jash is.
Josh is, Josh is a comedy collective, a united artists, if you will.
No offense, but it sounds like it's a fucking commie gobbledygook.
You got me, Norm.
I mean, I've never heard the word collective.
I know, but
Leon
Daniel puts buzzwords.
I haven't heard the word collective since Leon Trotsky. It's great. He's just so good at derailing stuff. I think he did the same one time he was on The View, and like they were trying to like keep him in line, and then he was like, "Oh, you know, Clinton killed a guy," you know. They just like went off on him. It's so great how he does it. It's like he's been practicing his whole life to be a cheeky old man, and he's clearly succeeding at that now. He's well honed to be what he was always meant to be. I don't know. Did you guys hear? I'm sorry if you didn't hear it, but back on Friday the 13th, 1307, the king and the pope rounded up Templars and out them to death. Was that you that dropped that before too? Actually, I forgot to look that up because that sounded pretty cool. That sounded, sounded interesting to look into. Yeah, well, I mean, these groups, 13 is a big number for them, right? A lot of these things are 13 stages that they do. I mean, it's a huge number for them. Oh. Are we back? We're good? Looks like I had some issues there for a second. But yeah, 13 is really huge for them. And I assume, I mean, that might have something to do with it, to be honest with you. Might be something to do. I mean, 12 is like a holy number. And often when you have like a holy number plus one, it often has a lot of significance. It's kind of like the 666 and 777 thing, the rise above. I mean, I guess that kind of means different things to different people, but I don't know. I don't really like that 777 stuff. I've seen some pretty crazy stuff. I mean, that's Aleister Crowley. Yeah, Pike did, but I guess the more contemporary version would be Crowley. Was it Crowley? Who was? It's been a long time, guys, and it's not really something that I try and stay up on. But who was the guy that went in the pyramids and said he was talking to some unholy spirit called Aiwass? I think it was Crowley, but he wrote a book on the law of 777 or whatever. Yeah, which I'm not endorsing, but. Yeah, it's a very significant number to these people, and things that come in threes as well. So it doesn't surprise me. They also like their prime numbers too. 13 is one of them. Yeah, 12 signs of the zodiac, but 12 apostles as well. There's the 12 tribes, the 12 sons, obviously, from which they came. There's a lot of different references to 12 in the Bible. Yeah, it is fascinating, and that is one of the, I guess, the pull-ins to it, and they kind of want you to look into it. So you always got to be careful. I always say, make sure you have your armor of God on. You're not losing your way in the Word or whatnot, because they can really get you. And I mean, the Word is kind of all you need, but I do understand it's it is kind of important to look into, and once you start seeing the symbols, like, it's a lot harder to get fooled. So I just have a little bit of protein. So we haven't had much snow. And I go out yesterday after a snowstorm just to like finish out what the snowplow put over. And the very first shovel I put in, I like skinned my finger right here. Just takes out a chunk right out. It's so annoying. Like your very first plow. I mean, it's not like, it's not debilitating or anything like that. But like as soon as you go in to start, you're like, you're pumped to get this snow out of the way. And just boom, I just like the handle slips or like the pedal gets stuck in a rut and it just like shaves my knuckle off. It's always fun. Yeah, I know about the whole Jesus is the Son thing. Like I've heard that before. The third day rose again. Yeah, I get that. But I mean, like, if you look into that star at the time, Jesus' birthday was very, very unlikely to be December 24th, or sorry, December 25th. I think that what that comes from is back in the Constantine times when Constantine didn't make Christianity the state religion, but he did start adopting it. But before he adopted the Christianity, he was big into Sol Invictus, who was a primitive monotheistic sun god. And I guess that was a good, for lack of a better words, bridge over into the monotheism of Christianity. And he adopted that in this sign we will conquer, or whatever it is, when he was at war for what was that battle? Bridge of, starts with an M. But yeah, Saturnalia. So he was trying to induct Christianity into Rome and the Roman Empire. And the best way that they did this stuff was basically kind of mishmashing all these religions together. And so the Saturnalia, which was, I think it was a week-long celebration, and at which I believe it ended on the 25th, or it started on the 25th, one or the other. And that was like the day of Sol Invictus. And that's basically how that came to be, because they were so close. They were really close. And this is what the Romans and all these pagan nations did at the time. Like if they wanted their people to take up a certain trait, or if they wanted to introduce a god, they would find something, the next closest thing, and say, oh, hey, look at the similarities, come over here. And that's how, like, you had the development of all these different traits of Isis, but they would show up in different manifestations. Like, there was someone in chat earlier that was mentioning Kibele or Sibylle, however you want to say her name, that she might be Ceres. Yeah, I guess so, because she's also like Magna Mater. But Kibele also picked up traits of what was the one that made Dionysus go crazy? Yeah, I forget who that was. It was the lover of Dionysus that made himself go crazy and chop his thing off and stuff like that. So like they mix and match all these traits to God, and I think Kibele and Magna Mater was brought into Rome during one of the Pyrrhic Wars, the wars against Carthage, and it was like one of the oracles, maybe the Oracle of Delphi at the time, said that if you bring Magna Mater statue to Rome, you will win the war, and that's how they gain morale for the troops. So there's all certain sorts of reasons for inducting these things, and it becomes a big mix mash, and that's what the mystery becomes, right? Like, because none of it makes sense, and you're trying to make sense of it, and you'll go crazy, just like Dionysus, trying to figure this stuff out. And I think that's intentional in a way. They like that part. It's kind of like an extra caveat along with it. Jesuits worship the sun makes sense. I mean, if you look at the IHS symbol, it's pretty clear. You have the spike and the curvy rays. Look up the Smithsonian symbol. It's the same thing, exact same thing. It's there's a bunch of rays going around, and some of them are straight, and then the next one next to it is curved, straight curve. You know, it goes all around like that. It's exactly like the IHS symbol, which is IHS is Jesus Hominum Salvator, like Jesus, Savior of the world, but just paying lip service to him or to Jesus. You're right. That's what they worship, is the Son. Mary is like literally ISIS fam. I'll give you a word to look up. Hold on. Maybe I've already given it to you. Sorry. Hold on. Give it a moment to buffer. Okay. I meant to say drawing, not drawsing. That's like a Newfie accent. You're drawsing, but you're drawsing. We don't actually say it, but yeah, it's that's actually. I mean, Kierkegaard was a pretty cool. Like, I mean, he was a Jesuit, but for a Jesuit, he was quite interesting. I guess he was a very, very, very smart guy, and on top of everything that he knew and possibly invented, even. And to an extent, he kind of started cracking some codes of hieroglyphs, although he got a lot of stuff wrong. But for someone who didn't have much information to go off, he was okay with that kind of part. Yeah, CIA son, yeah. See, that's the thing. The Jesuits are so well. One of the things that they focused on right from the beginning was education and healthcare and stuff like that, like the good works. Right, and that gives them, I guess, carte blanche to do whatever they want, wherever they go. When I lived in Quebec City, man, their symbolism is everywhere. And you could even see, like, up in the old town, like some of the stained glass of, like, the houses that people live in still have IHS in it. And it looks to me that the whole neighborhoods are set up, like, as you walk down a street, there's, like, a big glass window. And on the side, there's some, they call it vitraux, which is like stained glass, and have like IHS symbols on it. It's almost as if the whole town was set up so that you could always be watched back in like the 1700s by these guys. Oh, listen, if that stuff interests you, go to Quebec City and go to the Notre Dame de Québec, the cathedral. That place it's first off, it's the only North American cathedral with a holy door, so that should tell you something. It was like the seat of Laval, Jean-François de Laval, who was like the poster boy Jesuit. I think at that point it was basically the Huguenot or Huguenot, however you want to pronounce them, that were basically about to take over Quebec. But then we had this guy named Laval, who he was a pretty, you got to give him credit. Like he probably didn't understand what he was getting into to that point. And he seemed like he grew up rich in France, and he basically sold all his stuff and he became like a priest. And he was basically the poster boy for the Jesuits. So they sent him over there. And then when Champlain, when he died, he was kind of like the governor. He wasn't really, he didn't have the title of governor, but he was basically treated like the governor of Quebec. When he died, he donated all of his stuff to the Jesuits. And Laval rose in power. And then the Jesuits took over Quebec. So that's how they got their foothold here. And then from there, they went on to Detroit and Baltimore. But Quebec was their first real stronghold that they could start doing things. And then they bought up all Montreal too. Oh yeah. It's even worse than that, actually, to be quite honest with you. It's not just, that's just some devil statue, because like the gargoyles, like that's a big part of French culture. the French Gothic thing. I'm not saying it's, it's certainly not holy, but it's a little more normal. It doesn't have to be Jesuit to find those. But if you go to the Quebec place, right, and you go in there and you look at the altar, you have the cardinal's chair that's on the right-hand side, and then the backdrop behind that, it'll have like a lot of the different, the signs of power. So like lantern, staff, the mitre, the hat. I mean, and like it was all carved in gold. It's beautifully elaborate, or like gold painted wood, I guess. But if you were to just like take a picture of where they're all set up, it's exactly the tree of life. Like, it's obvious what they're trying to do there, and like it even like aligns to a lot of the meanings of each notch of the tree of life. And once again, I need to preface this for people if they are just coming in. Like, this is not something I support. Okay, I do not support the occult. And if you're a babe in Christ, I highly recommend not looking into it. And most people who aren't a babe in Christ, they don't want to look into it because the Bible's sufficient for them for the most part. But I do understand the importance of seeing the symbolism, because like this stuff goes right over people's heads, or that's not over. This is over. And this is how they control people. It's like these symbols are how they communicate, and goes right over your heads. And this is how people get, fooled into all sorts of stuff, like leaving the Catholic Church. And what the Catholics do, they're really bad for using that as a way to say that they're not British, right? They get their way culturally through that juxtaposition. And sorry guys, I don't mean to be eating too much. I'm just a little bit hungry. I'll knock that off. But yeah, sorry, just one sec. So what they do in Newfoundland, they do it as well, and I think they will probably do it with. Scottish is Presbyterian, stuff like that. But like if you have any Irish groups or anything like that, it's a big thing in France, or Quebec as well. Like Newfoundland and Quebec are much alike in that, because we were very dominated by Catholic culture, and they use that. They tie the culture of being not British and the Catholic thing, and they kind of put them together, right? And it gives you a pride of being distinct, but really you're just like under the wing that like so many other countries are in. And one thing I've noticed too over the past little bit, if you look at like the Protestant countries, Germany, Netherlands, Britain, stuff like that, it came from more of a patriarchal society where the man is like, I guess, the head of the household, more or less. But if you look at all these Catholic countries, they're all afraid of their wives. I don't think that's a coincidence. I think that, the whole Mary thing, saying, that the mother of God, they really focus on that. And the priest is the one that can give you excommunication. So they're kind of like the head of your household because they can absolve you, as opposed to your direct relationship with Jesus and God. Of course, they're the same entity, but, the Trinity. So I think in doing so, it kind of tries to skip over the way that the Bible talks about how a household is supposed to be structured. And of course, when you're Catholic, you don't read your Bibles. I don't know if you're Catholic. I'm not sure. But I grew up Catholic, and that was the one thing I noticed when I started going to Protestant churches, and just basically any other church, is that Catholics don't bring their Bibles to church. They bring their missals, and they bring their hymn books, and they bring their donation book. They don't forget that. But they never bring their Bibles. Never bring their Bibles. There's a reason for it, because like the church never wanted you to read it. They always wanted the priest to give it out in little doses. Whereas any good pastor will tell you to read your Bibles, and like they're more of a, like, as the Bible teaches, to be an overseer, as opposed to the person who absolves you, because Jesus absolves you. His death absolves you if you believe in him. And they communicate without speaking. Yeah, with the symbols. This is how they do it. And actually, you'll see that 777. If you go, when you're in the cathedral of Quebec, when you're going, first off, when you pray in the cathedral, you're praying directly to the east, which I think it is Ezekiel or Isaiah, where you say you never pray to the east, because it's praying to the rising sun. But it's direct. Like if you look at the map right now of the Notre Dame Cathedral, it's like directly where the sun rises at like the equinox or whatever. But if you go on the right hand side, there is a really beautiful painting on one of the side chapels, or whatever you want to call it. It is a really beautiful painting, but up on the top there is a header on it, and on it says 777. Yeah, dude, this cathedral is special to Jesuits, very special. And right down the road is an actual Jesuit chapel, which I went into, and I spoke to a couple of Jesuits. And like I was, I wasn't like, protesting them. I certainly wasn't for them or whatever. I wasn't like bowing down to them by any means, but I wanted to chat with them, to be honest. I wanted to see what they're up to. I wanted to see what they say if I asked them certain things. And I asked about spiritual exercises. And oh boy, he loves that Jesuit guy. Oh boy, he loves spiritual exercises. Had I spent more time there, I was going to try and see if I get like an interview or something with them, and see like, how do you feel? What would you respond to, these certain accusations or whatever? I would think of a better way to say it, of course, because apparently there was an English one there too. So did they ask if I was a traveling man? No, they didn't. And I do know that phrase. It's like the right answer is something. It's like I like to go to the east, or it came from the east, or something. I don't know. I do remember that. It's like their code word. I think that's more of a Mason thing, though. I'm not sure if that's not. I know that the Jesuits, they certainly have their hand in Masonry, but like they also keep it separate, right? So like when you're Jesuit or when you're Catholic, they don't want you to be a Mason, because you will see how close it is to a lot of the rituals of the Knights of Columbus. And that was the same thing with Mormonism back in the day. If you were a Mormon, you could never be a Mason. And I think partially the explanation was that Joseph Smith stole his temple rituals from Masonry, which is the truth. I mean, when you go, like, from what I've heard, like from people that go into the Mormon temple, I haven't myself. When I'm an ex-Mormon. I don't know if you guys know that, ex-Mormon convert or whatever, but I never went to the temple. But if you're a Mason and you go into one of these rituals, you're like, that was a Masonic ritual, like to the T, basically. So they were saying that he stole it from them, but what I think is that it was more intentional than what they're letting on, and they don't want you to see how close they are, right? So they pretend to hate it. It's controlled opposition, but at the end of the day, they're kind of the same thing everywhere you go. It's the same thing. I don't know. It's been a while since I researched this. Yeah, the Knights of Malta and Columbus are all, yeah. And I mean, that stems back from a long time ago, from like Crusades and stuff like that. But yeah, they all pretend like hate each other, but it's not the case at all. Same thing with the Great Awakening, or whatever they call. I don't think it was an actual Great Awakening, but it was this. Whoever said they were from New York, the Great Awakening happened in like upstate New York in like the 1830s, and coincidentally, Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists and Mormons all basically came from that same decade in that same area. And what I find really interesting about that is all three of those groups tend to collect different people. And I think that's by design. Believe it or not, or at least I believe, that Mormons target more intelligent people that need a sense of belonging. Because I think Joseph Smith was a bit of a cerebral or intellectual narcissist. Cool. It's good to have you. So Joseph Smith, his narcissism was more on the intellectual side in a little way, but he was also into women. Yeah, that's for sure. So maybe a little bit of all that. He was pretty narcissistic. And he was good at creating cults, but I don't think he was going for dumb people. He was going for smarter people that could rationalize the church. Jehovah's Witnesses do not go for thinkers. Okay, the less questions you ask, the better. And you can see the difference in their leadership now. Like Mormon leadership, they tend to be lawyers and doctors and like plane pilots, and they're all good businessmen and stuff like that, right? They're very smart people pushing some very questionable, easily denied, what they think to be truths, right? So they're looking for intelligent people with the ability to rationalize. Jehovah's Witnesses are the ones who are supposed to shut up and sit down and not really value themselves, right? They have to work to gain their value. And then you have people who aren't going to buy that stuff, which are the Seventh-day Adventists. And they talk a good game about the Jesuits, and they always have. And they've always been a little bit more on that conspiracy side kind of thing. But I think it's also by design. I think this is like to catch the rest of them that didn't get appealed by the Mormons or the Jehovah's Witnesses. So this is, they appeal to them. But when you look at, what was her name? Oh my goodness, it's been so long now, but she was created by this lady. And like, how many pictures do you see where she's got like her hand, the hidden hand going on? They all have the hidden hand going on in many of their photos. Tell you more, I've never worn the magic underwear, but I can tell you a little bit about the mentality behind it. Okay. Magic underwear is just basically a way to them, their mentality is, it's like an outward expression of their new and everlasting covenant. Peter North. I know that name. I used to listen to Howard Stern in my days. It's good to see you. Whatever. It's a late night chat. But what was I talking about? Peter North threw me off. Dang, Peter North. If someone can remind me what I was talking about, it's getting late. It was something about the mace. The underwear. All right, so it was their outwards expression of their new and everlasting covenant. What it basically is just a form of bondage. Like it's so that you don't break from the church, even in sexual matters, because like a holy marriage and sexual marriage or whatever, like it creates a strong bond, right? And this can be something that can seep out of the way of control of the church, of many churches, right? So they are always very, very, they always find ways to kind of get that shame in there to try and keep that control from sex in holy marriage, right? So the way that the Mormons do it is they wear it, and they have to wear it during sex, right? I don't know about the shower thing. I got a feeling that a lot of them, like, they are supposed to kind of keep it around there, like, if they're following the spirit of the law, they keep it on at all times, right? Except when they're cleaning it. But apparently it is supposed to be in the shower. So it's supposed to be like, even when you're naked, you're supposed to be under the bondage of Mormonism. That to me, that's what it's very much like. It is a weird aspect. I find it's because it is so weird and even creepy. I understand the fascination with it, but there's definitely more egregious forms of mind control in the Mormon Church. The pressure washer. Oh my goodness, I shouldn't even be repeating that stuff. The old Howard Stern days, they were funny. They were funny. Shock comedy is, I don't know. It ran its course, I guess, because it took its logical conclusion, I guess, and it just went out of sync with the world, and it just became like fart and poop jokes. You know? So it's but it can still be cheeky. It doesn't have to be bad, but it's not something I'm really into anymore. The Peter North stuff. Oh my goodness. Pretty fun chat actually for a late night one. I do like this. I'm probably gonna have to start figure out what to do with little kitty cat, because he's gonna need us to pick him up or something like that soon. So we'll probably wrap it up in the next 10-15 minutes or so. I don't want to shut it down right away, because it was kind of cool conversations. But yeah, Mormon stuff. I think the bigger part with Mormonism is just the love bombing. I think that's really the worst. Hold on, let me fix this a little bit. I'll give it a moment to buffer. But it's the love bombing with Mormonism. I think that's the worst part, because it's very subversive. And so you go in, I'm wearing this crappy shirt or this hat they would normally hate. And but to get you in, they're like, oh, that's such a nice shirt. It's such a great hat. You know, it's really, really sickening, because they pile it on you. But if you say you don't take your sacrament that week, right? Oh, and this is the worst. This is probably the scariest part of being a Mormon. If you take sacrament, this is how you get clean every week. You take the sacrament through them, and it's worse than Catholicism. Catholicism is like each week you keep building up your way to heaven by taking your sacrament. That's essentially the mentality behind that there, right? But you never refuse it, okay? In Mormonism, it's different, okay? Joseph Smith made it pretty clear that yes, you take it to absolve yourself of things, and it is that kind of mentality like in the Catholic Church, but it's the next step forward. If you are unworthy, if you've been a bad boy that week, right, you're not supposed to take it, okay? So what happens is every week when you're in these Sunday worships, they have your altar boys that go around, and like they have like a tray that, and they pass, go through, and everybody like they put it in the first person in the row, and they pass it over, and then it comes back down to the next row and gets back to that altar boy, or whatever they call them. I forget what it is now. The person who is administering the bread and the water. And as you're passing it down, if you believe that you're unworthy, you don't take it, right? Everybody takes one and they pass it on. But if you've been unworthy, you don't take it. And if you don't do that, listen, everybody sees that, okay? And it's not a good thing to be not taking sacrament, but at the same time, it's also a terrible thing to be taking it if you believe you don't deserve it, okay? But you don't want to show to people, right, that you are unworthy. So often people will take the sacrament, even though they think they're unworthy. And don't get me wrong, the whole thing is just a bunch of crap, okay? Like, your problems, you deal with God and you read your Bible. And that's basically all you need, right? But that's not what it means. Like, it means something to them. It's very important to them. Okay, the taking of the sacrament is important. It absolves you. Like the second you take that sacrament, you are as good can be. If you died right after taking the sacrament, you are what they call exalted. You can become like God. So it's really important that you take it, but that mind control behind it. So what it ends up doing, it splits your mind to make you, on one side, lie to yourself that you're perfect, right? That you're without sin. But then on the other side, you have that Mormon guilt hanging over you. And, and then it ties into it ties into everything then, right? So you're wearing your underwear and you feel unworthy to wear your underwear. And that's always on you. So it's always reminding you like it's a string on your finger. And yeah, this is how the narcissism spreads in Mormonism, of which it's everywhere there. Like everywhere, there's a reason why plastic surgery is the highest rate in Utah of all places, and business fraud and all kinds of stuff. Then on the other side, because there's the schizo and the dependent side, right? It also has some of the highest rates of prescription drug abuse, right? For this very reason. You're going around pretending you're perfect, right? They believe you can be perfect. You can do the work to be perfect, right? They don't believe that Jesus, he does it to an extent. You have to do the rest, which isn't that far from the truth. Like, you still have to abide by his precepts, of course, but like, they truly believe that you can't err, or that you cannot err, or that you don't have to worry. Like, you are good, you're perfect, you will always be perfect as long as you're Mormon and you follow the Mormon laws. And everybody lies to each other. It's disgusting. It's a really, really deep, twisted form of mind control, and it's very subtle, because it's all hidden under waves of love bombing. But they're all talking about you behind your back if you didn't take that sacrament. And you don't want that to happen, because you've heard the conversations when someone doesn't take the sacrament. You don't want to be that person. So yeah, that's how that works. Mormonism is really, really subversively destructive on the mind and the soul. And it was an interesting thing to learn and be in and understand how that works. Just no holds barred here. While being a Mormon, I was an alcoholic. So bear that in mind. And I never truly bought into it, because as a convert, it's not as easy to buy into this as if you were born in this and all of your family is Mormon. Because if you don't follow this stuff, they'll disconnect you. When I left the Mormon church, I would like call a Mormon friend for, I think I asked them to send me an email to help or something on something, and they treated me like garbage. Not because I was a sinner, it was just that I left the church. I was an apostate. So while that didn't affect me, and that keep that staying power, it wasn't big on me. If I had a kid that was raised into it, and then all his friends were Mormon, and all his, all of his family were Mormon, and we suddenly left the church and stuck around there, like we're the family of apostates. Yeah, it's just like you stop believing MSM, just like philosopher. And it's it's a shared psychosis, which is very close to MK Ultra. Mormons sacrifice babies underneath the Mormon temple in Salt Lake City. I don't know much about it. I have heard some weird stuff, but I don't know if I've ever seen proof of it. But to be quite honest with you, Mormon was like, learning about the Mormon mind control was the first kind of awakening, whatever you want to call it. When you become awake or whatever. This was like the first step for me. So this was well past. This was way over my pay grade of mind control and the depths that the depths of evil that can be found within spirituality. So I didn't quite understand that could exist. It's not something I looked into. Maybe I will. I mean, when you look at some of these leaders, man, they're pretty creepy, dude. Go look up some of those Mormon general conferences. And the general conferences are gross too. Some of the stuff is just egregious. Like when you're well read in the Bible and you start listening to these guys start talking. Oh boy. I don't know how they can justify. Well, I know how they can justify it's rationalization, but like if I didn't know better, you look at this and you're like, how in the heck did they get this out of the Bible? How could they ever say that they're readers of the Bible? But they have they have really intelligent people in organizations called like Fair Mormon, FAIR Mormon, who are Mormon apologetics. And there's some really, really brilliant people in it. Like, again, don't underestimate the Mormons. They're smart. They're not dumb. It's not about intelligence for Mormons. A little bit more so for JWs, but Mormons, it's more about that feeling of belonging. With that mind control that I was just telling you about, you can see that it's not, you could be as intelligent as possible and you still want to be part of that, right? Because you don't want to be excommunicated. So you'll start believing some crazy stuff in order to stay in that church. And that's how Fair Mormon works. They'll justify like natives making gold and silver coins. Like, yeah, they had gold and silver, but not coinage like we had. And they say, oh yeah, like there's totally evidence of hundreds of thousands of Indians fighting with spears and stuff like that, like European weapons, and total evidence of that, even though we've never found anything like that. I had a Mormon friend when I was little. Her parents eventually wouldn't let us be friends because my family was Christian. Yeah. And the deeper you get into Mormon territory, the stronger that gets. When they're in a place where there are the foreigners, they're very welcoming, right? And they're much more accepting than if you were in a place like Utah, that part of Idaho, Wyoming. There's a little bit of a Wyoming. Even up in Canada, there's a part of BC. Now it's a little bit more fundamentalist, but Lethbridge, Alberta, there's a place called Cardston, and that's where when the Utah war happened, and it was basically U.S. saying, you got to stop marrying a bunch of wives. And they were like, okay, we'll stop marrying a bunch of wives, but they kept marrying a bunch of wives. And so they would move to Canada, so they got away with it. They went up to Cardston and in a place called Bountiful, British Columbia. Bountiful stayed fundamentalist, but Cardston went mainstream LDS, Latter-day Saint. When you say LDS and not FLDS, LDS is like the Utah Mormons. FLDS are the 10-wife Mormons, who are actually much closer to the original Mormons than the door knocker Mormons. Sister wives. Yeah. You ever see Big Love? Press 1 if you've seen Big Love before. It's a pretty good show. I had Ken Paxton, or Bill Paxton, sorry. And Chloe Sevigny. And Jan Triplethorn. And one other who was in He's Just Not That Into You. Not that I'm into that movie, but I saw it with an ex-girlfriend at the time. The crazy, like, no, it was static one. And you think it'd be awesome to, like, you know, have 3 hot wives of different varying decades of birth. You think it'd be just like great, but no. Guys aren't meant for that. The only way you can get away with that, okay, is if you are oppressive. And you see that develop in the main character as time goes on. He seems like a really great guy at first, you know, and you're like, hey, maybe this will work, right? But then you start seeing the undercurrent behind all this, and you see that he becomes the inevitable monster that he was trying to avoid. the show didn't really end well. So if like you're trying to go through the whole series, like don't expect a great ending. I thought like it was just terrible writing at the end there, but the first couple seasons, I thought they did a really good job at explaining mentalities of both the mainstream LDS and the FLDS and how they interact and intertwine with each other in certain ways and how they completely stay away with each other and the differences and the juxtapositions in other ways. I thought for that reason, that show was really good. And I love Bill Paxton. He's awesome. And I love Chloe Sevigny. There's something about her in braids. I don't know. She's not like the greatest looking chick in the world, but I do like the braids. I'm not gonna lie. Going on 312 now, and I need to start acting. Update with Kitty Chai Girl is, yeah, I might have FIP. The test came back inconclusive. There are some problems. Apparently I had too much protein, a certain type of protein, which indicates that it's not like, you know, meat protein thing. It's a certain something else, something that goes way over my head of intelligence. And maybe a little bit of kidney. She's worried. She's worried that it's something he's always had and it just lay dormant. Might have been passed on from the mother or something. And it's kind of surfacing now. Which, yeah, I mean, he was like the only one that survived out of all of them. So I guess that's something that is to be expected, I guess. I'm trying to rationalize it a little bit, I guess, because I got a little bit emotional earlier. But, you know, when you really look at it, he was the only one. He probably shouldn't, or he probably was so lucky to be alive even for a year. I got three. And this little dude, he was like my bro, and he still is. He's still my brother. I still get him for at least a good bit yet. He's not going to die like tomorrow. Okay, so, but I was really lucky to have him. And I still am really lucky to have him. Because he was like just the sweetest little thing. The second I had him, he was really scared of me. So he hid on his couch. So I started putting like little lines of treats. He was like this big. And I'd be like, hello? Hello, little buddy. And he'd do his little crawl out of the couch or whatever. And he's like, oh, treats. Oh, hey. It only took about like 5 minutes before he was like, we were best bros. And he, from 8 weeks to about 6 months, because I was taking care of my dad at the time. So I had a lot of free time back then. He was just sitting on my lap all day. If I slept, if I woke up, I would have to be very careful, not make a move, and look around because he was so small. I think I have a picture. I don't take many pictures, but I think I have one picture of how small he is looking up at me. It's like really blurry, but he is like so small. And he always crawled in around me. I don't move much around when I sleep, so it was no big deal. He found ways, but I always had to be careful waking up. Like, where's the little tiny kitten that I can't even feel around me? Yeah. He was a very silky kitty. And even like growing up 2 years in, he never kind of like, he was always like attached to the hip. He started getting a little bit more like, you know, I'm a big cat now. No, I got big cat stuff too over the past few months or whatever, like since about a year ago. But that's it. They do grow up. They grow up. But he's still some cute man. Yeah, it's not easy, man. You don't really get used to it either. You know, I've lost a couple cats, and there was one that went like I couldn't even see him before he died. That was really sad because he was another little black one, and I was out of town at the time, and my My parents actually, they liked him. They kept him, but he was always like my dude kind of thing. It was a few years back. And yeah, he was an adventurer, and I think he like ate a mushroom or something during that time, and that finished him off. So like that was hard. And I had another cat too that died a couple of years ago, and he went like really fast from FIV, like not the FIP, but the FIV, and that's really sad to see, because like he was like 10 years old, so it could have very well been like, you know, just a little bit over halfway through his life, and then you just see it slowly suck the life out of him, and you realize there's nothing left. That was rough. It was rough, but it doesn't seem to get easier. It's okay though. I mean, this is life. And it's one of those times where it reminds you of the book of Job, you know, like you might praise God when things are going your way, and the devil might taunt God and say, yeah, you might have him now. Now he has it all, but let's take this all away and see what happens. And the truly faithful, they realize that they never had anything if it was for him, you know? So when you take that in mind, and if he really did have like these problems all the time, which is very likely, you know, because he's the only one that survived out of all of them. Tiny little cat, like he was probably lucky to make it a couple months, let alone still be alive after 3 years, if what they think is the case is the case. So the long story short, sorry, is that there are inclusive lab tests, and it might have to get sent down to USA. And because of COVID, we might have a little bit of weight on our hands before we truly figure out what's going on. Don't give you nightmares. I'll exercise you. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just playing around. Just playing around. Nacho, it's good to see you. It was good to hear you too. I didn't get to stick around too much because I was uploading and finishing up the video that's going to be out. I set the premiere for, I think it's 6 hours from now. Yeah, somewhere around there. And it is Jeff C's cousin, and I have the bulk, the really important stuff that he sent, the information, and even like the proof that he was close to him. Close enough, like definitely a family member, and an explanation of how the family feels about this, how they feel about the community, things like that, how they felt about Jeff. And it's really insightful. I think it's really important. I would have released it as soon as it was done, but it would have been in the middle of the night, and I don't know if it would have reached enough people to start snowballing. Yeah, it's heavy. It was hard to read for the first time. You know, you start, I think, like, and don't get me wrong, it's not like I didn't bear it in mind before, right? But I think it was like something that a lot of people were at risk of kind of forgetting, like how split the family can be, you know? How much pain that could have been there for many different factors, you know, not just personality wise, but like what was going on in the world. And he was right about a lot of things, right? But most people can't grasp that, even family members. I think a lot of us have had to deal with that. If you believe certain things, you're going to lose family members, and it creates rifts. And the exact same thing happened with me. I'm not like pushing it on Jeff. Like I have like literal parts of my family that have broke, like just like blocked me on Facebook. And like, I have said nothing except for like, I questioned the happening at that place in Newtown. Right. And it wasn't even like, you know, no one died, no one got hurt. Like it was like, I don't think that they're telling us what actually happened there. And I'm not sure what it is, but I'm not getting the truth. And that just because like they're so conditioned, you know, and just one of them actually just passed away. He was a bone surgeon. Okay. This is like I'm not going to say he was like the smartest guy in the world, but he, I mean, you got to be pretty smart to be a bone surgeon. Yeah. Yeah. You know what I mean? And there was no, I would talk to him one-on-one and just like give logical reasons for why I think it's not how we're being told. I don't know if it was fake. I still don't know if it was fake. I think that it could be something in between. I think they could be forcing you to go one way, you know what I mean? And making the normies go the other, but it could have been something in between. Like something could have happened, but it's not what was being said. I still can't get it. Right. But just thinking that can create a rift. And, you know, you throw the personal issues and then when he passes, not my family member, but going back to Jeff, like, what do you do there? What do you do? And it's not like he was the older one. Like in my case, that's, you know, like the person I'm speaking of was like, you know, the kind of an elder of the family, you know, but with him, like we're talking about mothers burying sons. And that's rough. That's rough. And it, for the first, I think for the first time, because you've been seeing this through the lens of people that I don't know how much valid emotion that they can actually put through some of these people that have been giving you this information. And I'm not trying to just like, you know, bash these people. I'm not seeing real emotion. Okay. And I see a sense of despair that comes from within in this family now. And you start seeing it for the first time. And I was able to get his permission to, as long as I like made the names, initials, and you'll know, if you know the situation, you know who these people are. You see it. This is not like someone, if someone has faked this on me, this is like Oscar material, because it's not all praising Jeff. This is not like, you know, Jeff will never be replaced. You know, like I'm not mocking Jeff in that. I'm mocking the people who won't look at reality and see the good and the bad and everything in between. You know, like it's all, you know, amazing, but now you got to come with us because it's amazing. Right? Like that's what it feels like to me until you see this, I think. And I think that gave me enough closure to say, like, I'm 99.99999% sure that he's gone. And I ended it with a eulogy or whatever you want to call it. And yeah, I hope that it will. I hope it'll help some people, man, because I know I keep saying this too much, but yeah, he was this way exactly. You know what I'm talking about. Yep, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And yeah, I think it was important that I did it because, you know, I felt the pain. I felt that pain that he may have felt from people in that family and vice versa. So everybody's just like, oh, you're just trying to bash this guy. And I'm just like, no, man, no, this is heavy, heavy stuff. And you can't just go playing with people's minds and hearts over this stuff, you know, like regardless of how I feel about him. And it's not all bad that I feel about him, you know, and I think you'll see it. I think you'll get it. You know, these are real hurting people on the inside of that family and on the outside. Like we had people, like you can still go to that chat now and like people are lost. like they're lost without, or at least that's how they're typing. You'll go to the music channel and just, please come back, please come back. And you're just like, at the end of the day, guys, like, you have lives to live, and you're not attached to him at the hip, and you may not even truly know who he is, you know? And again, I'm not trying to say, like, I'm not saying, no, the monster he is. I'm not trying to bash him. I'm saying a lot of these people don't quite understand what was going on to make them so attached to him. And they're lost. And it's been such a rush of emotion over this past 10, whatever it is, 11 days. Because you feel the hurt. You feel it on every side, every new piece of information. And you want to help. And you know that it's not going to break through to everybody. And they'll even, not that, don't worry about me, but they'll even attack you. You know, like, don't worry about how I feel over that. It's nothing to me. I got no real stake in this game. That is the truth community anymore, really. But I feel like I owe something, because you have that inside. So I think it might be a really important video. If there is one video I could ask you to share, it would be that one. You can re-upload it all you want if you feel like it would be a good idea to do so. And that goes with all of my videos, by the way. I'm not looking to monetize this. I'm not looking to do anything with my videos. You want to re-upload stuff, I've never had a problem with it. Just, we are going to get stuck in a feedback loop if we don't start truly looking at the problems from within. And I know you can't stop the world's problems. We're in a fallen world, but there's something about the truth community, like you feel, just like in the Mormon church, they believe that they're the one true church. There was a big problem with Jeff, that it was like, we have the one truth. And this is the hallmark of most cults. We are the truth. Everyone outside doesn't have it. So yeah. All right, guys, it is getting late. Actually, it's getting early. As you can see, there's daylight breaking for me. So, and I got to figure out what's going on with my little buddy. So thank you very much for coming by. Really appreciate it. And we'll chat. It was good to see you come in, Nacho. My goodness, it's late for you too. So yeah, I tell you what, does Hangout still work? You got my email? Go over to, like, here, hold on. That's a live chat that we use. It's just like that'll never go live, like the actual stream. It'll never go live. But yeah, it's something we use. And but on there is my email, and you can. I'm going to be up for the next little bit because my kitty cat. So yeah, we can even chat there if you want. Yeah, I'll check it out. I don't have the same, like, stuff that I can still chat with, but I'll figure it out. I'm sure there's some way. I think you can even access it from email now. So I'll shoot you a message. Guys, it was great. I was a little bit worried that I was going to be like the only one on in the middle of the night. And I'm not going to lie, this was kind of for me, you know. It is to, you know, try and get a little bit of, just get my mind off the poor little kitty cat while we're figuring it out. I'll tell you later. I'll tell you, because I've said it too many times. Rick, good to see you, my friend. Sorry that you're only catching the tail end. There's some interesting chats in this one. But yeah, you should check the thing that's premiering 12 o'clock Eastern. It's about Jeff and stuff like that. Totally check that out. Thank you so much, guys. And just one thing, I will disagree with Philosopher before I go. I'll meet you halfway and say, worship no man, worship no woman, but I will worship God. So for those that do follow along with that, read your Bibles. All right, guys. See you later, but you're welcome to leave, whatever. You're welcome here.